In this video, I'm going to walk you through Miguel's LinkedIn profile and just give feedback on it. And so Miguel is actually a transitioning military member for the U.S. military. For those of you that are veterans or transitioning military right now, this is definitely a video you want to watch all the way through to hear some of the advice I give. For those that are outside the U.S. but are former military or current military looking to get out into the what we call the civilian workforce, there will be also some relevancy into the things that I discuss in this video as well for you. And also for those that are doing none of that stuff. This is still relevant for you on many of the things that I'm going to suggest to Miguel in this video. So thanks again, Miguel, for volunteering your profile to take a look at. Couple of things right off the bat, just from a privacy perspective. I don't know if the phone number and stuff you have listed up here is like your real phone number and email address. If it is, too bad. Everybody else has it already. But I would suggest that you just create like a separate email account for, and this goes for everyone. Create a separate email account and get a Google voice number, and that's what you use for all your job applications. That way, if you happen to apply for a fake job where they're just trying to harvest your data, they only get a fake email and they get a fake phone number. So one just minor privacy note there. So let's go through the profile. For those of you that have watched past LinkedIn profile reviews that I've done, you already know that the headline, which is that stuff right there, and then the about section are the absolute two critical areas of your LinkedIn profile. Everything else is, I'll call it a nice to have. You still need to do it, but when you focus on fixing stuff, focus on the headline and the about section right down here. And we'll talk about those here in just a moment. Let's start off though with Miguel. So you've got a cover photo or background photo, however you want to say that. That's totally fine. And I draw that line there for everyone. So basically, usually if they're looking on a mobile device, which most recruiters, hiring managers, etc., are going to look from their phone at your LinkedIn profile. So typically speaking, they're only going to see, depending on their device, but they'll typically only see whatever's on the right side here. So whether that's a picture, whether that's your name and contact info, whether that's a statistic like, and I'm making this up by the way, but 25% of small businesses suffer a cyber attack in 2023 or whatever. Whatever you want to put there, just keep in mind that it should go on the right side if there's any text at all. If it's just a photo like Miguel has in the background here, just, that's not relevant. But if you're putting any text on that photo, then just make sure it's on the right side there. So your headshot photo looks good, Miguel. That's this one right here. One quick tip on the open to work thing. A lot of people don't know this, and this is from a LinkedIn insider. So again, hopefully they're not identified and fired for sharing that information. But the open to work thing, good to put on your profile if you are, looking for something. I will say though that based on what that person told me, every maybe once a week, take it down for a couple of days and then put the open to work back on your profile. What that does essentially is that like reboots you in the algorithm. And so when a recruiter like logs in to search for candidates, you'll be up near the top of the list again. If you don't do that, then it kind of considers you almost like those old job postings, right? You see a job posting is 30 plus days old. You're probably not going to get an interview because it's already filled or, something, right? Somebody forgot to take it down or whatever. In the same way, you're just kind of refreshing yourself in the algorithm, right? You're just saying, hey, look, we've got this new job posted. In this case, hey, look, I'm still open to work, right? So a quick tip on that. But again, Miguel, for you in particular, your headshot looks good. Now, you don't have to go out and spend thousands of dollars to get your photo taken. Pretty much everybody watching this video is probably watching on their mobile device. So just take a photo with your phone. Just try to, kind of like Miguel did, find kind of a blank background, like a wall or something like that. Or if you got to take it outdoors or whatever. I mean, obviously, don't put yourself in danger to take a photo, but as professional as possible. This should not be you drinking on the weekend taking a photo. This should be something professional, because when I look at your profile as a hiring manager, I want to know that I can put you in front of clients and that you're going to be a grown up. All right. And yes, you may party on the weekends, whatever, but I can't put a partier in front of a client. I can put a professional member of my team in front of a client, if that makes sense. So now let's start diving into the headline and the about section, which again are the two most important areas. So first thing here is there's way too much going on. But anyways, in general on the headline, you want a single sentence to start. So I suggested this in other videos, just something very simple to start, something generic to start, and then you can tailor it based on your specific experience, etc. So what do I mean by generic? I help companies reduce cybersecurity risk. Ask me how. Literally, everyone watching this video, just like I've said many times before, Pause the video, go change that in your profile right now, and then you can always adjust it based on the particular job you're trying to go into. But get something generic there at first. Really, your headline is just telling people what you can do for them, right? What can you do for my company? And if you even make it generic, like I said, like I help companies reduce cybersecurity risk, almost everybody understands, at least at a high level, what that means, right? You're helping reduce risk. Okay, cool. Let's call Miguel for an interview. So once you got the single sentence in place, then you could put some of this other stuff here. But this should be what you're trying to go for. Now, Miguel in particular, when you had submitted your information to have it reviewed, you said SOC analyst, you said cybersecurity analyst, you said system administrator or sysadmin, which are all different jobs, right? I mean, some companies will have cybersecurity analysts and SOC analysts having similar day-to-day tasks to some extent, but that varies a lot on the company. Sysadmin, totally different, right? It's a more general IT type of position. Yes, you'll be doing security stuff in there with identity and access management, et cetera. Probably involved in some network security, things like that. But it's not a quote unquote cybersecurity, there's no cybersecurity job title for that one. So anyways, you've already got experience, it looks like, as an ISSO. So my first question to you in particular, Miguel, if you're watching this, why are you trying to be a sysadmin? Why are you trying to be a SOC analyst, right? Especially an aspiring SOC analyst. Like, you're not, because I already looked at your profile before I started filming. You've got years of experience in the military. In addition to that, you've got, I think, about a year and a half as an ISO. So I don't know how you pronounce that stuff. But anyways, the ISSO is how I pronounce it. I'm sure there's a fancy way that other people do it, kind of like CISO, and some people pronounce it CISO. Anyways, I digress. But I think you're underselling yourself. The other thing with some of you transitioning, at least in the U.S. military, you probably have a security clearance. So so Miguel, you in particular, I'd take out aspiring. I mean, unless you're trying to do private, well, take out aspiring everybody. So you're not an aspiring pen tester. You're not an aspiring SOC analyst, because what you're basically putting out in the universe is that you're going to always be aspiring, right? So just throw that word away. Whatever college professor told you to do that is an idiot. Whatever college counselor told you to put aspiring is a moron. Whatever cybersecurity person that's already working in industry that told you to put aspiring is an idiot, and you can tell me their name and I'll tell them they're an idiot if you want me to. Take out aspiring, right? Because you want to be working this, right? You already want to be in it. So why are you aspiring? Right? That's kind of like those people, I'm an aspiring rapper, but dude, you're 55 at McDonald's. Like, it hasn't worked out yet. Maybe it'll work out, but sometimes we got to be realistic, right? So aspiring rapper, no. Aspiring SOC analyst, no. Right? SOC analyst, cybersecurity analyst, pen tester, cybersecurity engineer, whatever. Not aspiring cybersecurity engineer. So anyways, take out aspiring. If you've got aspiring listed on your profile right now, throw it away. Throw it in the trash. Like, write it on a piece of paper, throw it out. The other thing, especially with Miguel, and this brings up a good point, most people don't have any clarity on exactly what the heck they want to do. So if you put system admin, SOC analyst, cybersecurity analyst, if you start listing job titles in your headline, your about section, all over your profile, that tells me you don't know what the hell you want to do. Why would I hire someone that doesn't know what the hell they want to do? Because they're not going to be focused. They're going to be like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. Well, okay, great. Go find a job in that. But if you don't know what you want to do, why would I want to hire you ever? Right? Now, behind the scenes, you might be open to like, well, whatever opportunity comes, I don't care what the job title is. That's totally cool. But don't tell people that, right? Like, so for example, if you're applying for SOC analyst jobs, Miguel, I'm just going to pick on you a little bit since we're looking at your profile. Okay, so Miguel, you want to be a SOC analyst. You're applying for SOC analyst jobs. You may be totally open to do cybersecurity engineering or an ISSO position or even like junior pen tester or whatever. You might be open to those roles, but don't tell anybody. But if they reach out to you and say, hey, we don't have a SOC analyst role open, but we have this, let's just say intermediate level pen tester role, we're willing to train you. Are you interested in it? Cool. Yeah, of course I'll do that, right? But you don't put down pen tester, SOC analyst, cybersecurity, you don't put all these things on there. That's one of the biggest mistakes I see people making is pick one thing, right? If you want to be a sysadmin, be the best damn sysadmin in the world, right? If you want to be a SOC analyst, be the best damn SOC analyst. But you have to really take a step back. And so this will be a little clarity exercise for all of you. Take a step back, right? So think about SOC analyst. Do you want to sit in a SOC? Because yeah, you could potentially get remote, but most of them want you in person in a SOC, especially in the government space, Miguel. So if you're trying to get in a SCIF, guess what? You're not going to be remote for a skiff, right? You're going to be in person at the skiff. So if that's your goal, then okay, cool, right? Be a SOC analyst. But if you want to work remotely, probably SOC analyst is not the right job title for you to go for. Maybe sysadmin, could be cloud architect even. I don't know. I didn't see much cloud on your background there, at least for you, Miguel. But other people, cloud architect could be a potential path. Cybersecurity analyst, cybersecurity engineer, pen tester. I mean, a lot of those things will have a remote option. ISSO could even potentially have a remote option. But a SOC analyst, probably not, right? So for anyone that wants to work remotely, I mean, yes, there are some SOC analysts I know that are remote, private sector. But those jobs are pretty tough to come by and they pay crap usually. Like, and by crap, I mean, which is probably a lot to some people, but 60 to like 70,000, maybe 80,000 max. In the grand scheme of things in cybersecurity, once you've got some experience, like that's a sucky wage here in the U.S. at least, right? Other countries, that's a lot. That that's a lot of money potentially in other places, but here in the U.S., that's a crappy wage, and you're going to be living in the hood usually. So what I'm saying with that is like all of you need to really take a step back and figure out really what the hell you want to do in life. It's not being a sysadmin, SOC analyst, cybersecurity analyst, ISSO, pen tester. No, pick one freaking thing and commit to it that you're going to do that and nothing but that for the next 2 years at least of your life. If you do that, you're going to find that you get the job a lot faster. You get opportunities chasing you down. And again, you can always behind the scenes be kind of like, well, if I don't get a SOC analyst, I'm also okay with these other ones, but my preference is SOC analyst. And you put that out there in the universe. And again, as long as you fix your LinkedIn profile, like I'll get off my soapbox here. As long as you update your LinkedIn profile, then you'll be in a good position to get whatever, that potential job is. But again, you have to get clarity. You have to find one thing you want to do. Like, I didn't start out trying to do 27 different cybersecurity jobs, right? I was doing IT stuff. Then I moved into do more security responsibilities, and it kind of blossomed into, hey, I want this job title. So they gave it to me because they didn't want to lose me. And then, hey, I want to try this now. Okay, cool. Here you go. Right. So like it was a progressive thing. It wasn't like I started out with a job title that was SOC analyst, pen tester / ISSO / sysadmin. Like, hopefully you understand what I'm saying here. I'm kind of rambling, but hopefully all of you understand what I'm saying. You have to get clarity because the more you're clear, the more likely other people are clear. And they're like, hey, when they're in a conversation with their boss and the boss says, we need a new SOC analyst, and they just saw Miguel's profile on this video and they know that Miguel wants to be a SOC analyst and he's got some background, those people can connect with Miguel, say, hey, you still looking? And they can go right to their boss with your resume and get you an interview. Like, why wouldn't you want that? Why would you want to stress out and apply to 1,000 jobs on LinkedIn and shit that everyone else is doing? Why wouldn't you want that backdoor into a job? That's silly, right? So it all starts with you and your clarity of figuring out what you actually want to do. Pick one cybersecurity career. I've got a whole YouTube this YouTube channel you're on, I've got 20 or 30 different cybersecurity career paths you can go down. Some of them are non-traditional, right? Marketing, sales, things like that people don't think of. But those videos are on there. Just find them on the, I think it's the cybersecurity career playlist. Just look through those. If you don't know what you want to do, look through some of those and be like, oh, that looks interesting, right? And then kind of narrow down that list. It's like, okay, if all these are my top 2. And then literally just take a coin and flip it and be like, all right, heads, I'm going to be going for SOC analyst. Tails, I'll go for pen tester. And whatever it flips on, that's what you're doing the next 2 years. That's all you focus on. What that's going to do also for you is when you're trying to learn things, you don't jump on every shiny object, because there's a lot of people on social media and they'd be like, oh, I'm learning this, I'm learning that, I got this cert, I got that cert, I got this degree, whatever. And you start comparing yourself to them if you don't have clarity. And so you start trying to learn everything to be an incident responder. But you're trying to go be a GRC analyst, right? Is what you want to do, but you're trying to learn all this other stuff. And that gets you off path and it takes you longer. So what I'm getting at here with this whole spiel is clarity is critical. Anyways, back to the LinkedIn profile. That was a little tangent to hopefully help some of you in your career. Some of you will be like, whatever, he doesn't know what he's talking about. My career counselor at college does. But ask yourself this question. Has that career counselor that's showing you how to do your resume and talking about how to do your LinkedIn, have they ever in their life worked a cybersecurity job? Any job in cybersecurity world? The odds are no. Have they ever in their life actually directly helped someone by making a phone call or sending a text or a LinkedIn message? Have they ever helped someone get a cybersecurity job just by doing that? Again, Very unlikely that any of your college counselor career people, and we love them to death, right? They're good people. They're working hard. They're trying to help you out as best they can, but they've never worked in this stuff, right? So they're limited. They don't understand what a hiring manager looks for necessarily. They might know from the few people they talk to. They might know from some of the professors, but they haven't really been exposed to thousands of hiring managers like someone like myself. They haven't interviewed hundreds of people and gone through hundreds, if not thousands, of interviews themselves in the cybersecurity world. So take whatever other people that have not actually done this with a grain of salt. A good example I like to give, and then I swear I will get back on the LinkedIn profile here. Good example I'd like to give is myself. I am not a heart surgeon. When I wanted to be a doctor, I did go watch the open heart surgery. And basically, the doctor said, stand over there, shut your mouth. And if you feel like you're going to pass out, because they had me stand near the anesthesiologist, basically on like this little platform. And so basically, he told me, he's like, if you're going to pass out, make sure you fall backwards so you don't fall into the patient. He didn't hand me a scalpel and say, dude, start cutting, man. This is going to be fun, right? Because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I've never worked as a physician. I didn't go to medical school, right? I didn't do residencies and fellowships and all that stuff, right? So why in the hell would Miguel, I'll pick on you. Why in the hell would you want me to do open heart surgery on you? It makes no sense, right? You wouldn't listen to me if I was like, yeah, you just got to, pull the thing taut. And I don't know how they do open heart surgery now, but back in the day, they would basically use this device to pull the skin real taut and kind of pull your chest tight. And then the surgeon would crack with the back of the scalpel, crack your chest, and then they would do the incision and then cut you further from there. And then they had the little, so for those of you eating lunch right now, you probably want to pause this video and you finish your lunch. But anyways, they had these little clamps that would like pull your chest open and they go in and do their thing. But like, again, why the hell would you listen to Ken on how to do that stuff? Because you're going to kill somebody. You're going to screw it up, right? In the same way, why would you listen to all these idiots that have never worked in cybersecurity? And again, I say idiots, but I'm talking about these people on social media that they've never worked a cybersecurity job, but you're taking advice from them. What the hell do they know? They've never worked it. They can't even get an interview. So what the hell do those people know, right? Why would you ever listen to them, right? Common sense, which I think, unfortunately, with social media world, we've lost that. Okay, now I'm off the soapbox completely. I promise everyone I will not go back on it. Let's get back to the LinkedIn profile here. Otherwise, this will be like an 8-hour video and people are going to send me hate mail. By the way, I will link an invisible email address I'll post right below this video. Send all your complaints to that. So back to the headline. Single sentence here. And after that single sentence that tells an organization or tells somebody what you can do for them, again, very generic one is I help companies reduce cybersecurity risk. Ask me how. Then you could put some of this other stuff. Now, again, for you in particular, Miguel, I wouldn't put all this stuff here. I think secret clearance for you in particular, or anyone that's got a security clearance, that definitely should stay there. I'm a veteran myself, so I can, I feel like I could say this. Nobody cares you're transitioning veteran. So, right. So I wouldn't put that there. I wouldn't put the active duty there. Maybe in an interview you can mention that, but really it's relevant. Same with that. Again, I already talked about the job title, so pick one. So let's just say that you want to be a SOC analyst. We'll say that's the one. So you can list that there. Take off all this other stuff. You can put the Sec Plus. That's totally cool because that relates to the job title you're going for. Now, that being said, if you've got a bunch of certs, just pick like 1 or 2 max to put in your headline that relates to that specific job. Right, or at least closely relates to that specific job. Your college degree, you don't need to put that there. Same with your current job or the past job you worked in the military. So that's a lot of red marks. I feel like a teacher grading a paper. But so for you in particular, Miguel, you could put that, I'll put a big S. So start with a sentence. Then from there, you can pipe, SOC analyst, and then pipe Sec Plus, and then pipe, active secret clearance or something, right? That's enough. That's all you need. And what that does also, if Miguel especially, or those with the security clearance especially, if you're open to working in a place where you need a clearance and you've got a clearance, then that's my suggestion for you because that's the lowest barrier to entry. Because a lot of people have to go through the clearance process, but you've already got a secret. So you can go work with a consulting company that, and for SOC analysts in particular, some people I know, but they've got top secrets, but they basically are making like 160 grand a year as like a tier 1 SOC analyst. So you can make decent money if you've got a security clearance in the government space. So anyways, headline, critical things, start with a single sentence that tells people what you can do for them. And then you can add some of this other stuff if you want after the fact. So now let's move on to the about section. So you got your headline, right? So you've got this single sentence We figured out what it was. Now, the About section, the entire goal of the About section is to get them to click See More. That's the entire goal of the About section. There's no other goal with the About section, at least the first part of it, other than to get them to click See More. Once they click See More, they read more about you, they stay on your profile longer. They're much more likely to quote unquote buy you. Just like a sales page, right? If there's a really good sales page, it'll teach you things you want to read more. It's interesting. The copywriting is really good, and you're like, ooh, I really got to have this thing, right? I really got to have this Ken bobblehead doll, right? Because the copywriting is good. But if the copywriting sucks, you look at it real quick. You're like, oh, this sucks, and you click away and go on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, right? Or you watch this video where I went off a tangent. So that's the entire goal of the About section, at least the first part of it that I'm going to talk about here in just a second, is to get them to click See More. Again, once they click See More, they read more about you. They're more likely to either read more on your profile, like your experience and stuff, or they're more likely just to start at that point, just reach out to you and say, hey, Miguel, I loved your profile. I see you apply for this role or whatever, or I see you're interested in getting a SOC analyst job. We've got something open that might be a good match for you. Are you open to having a call this week? That's how you get interviews. It's not by applying to 1,000 jobs on LinkedIn and Indeed and all these and tweaking your resume and all that stuff. That stuff is from the 1990s. For some of you, that's long before you were even born. Why are you doing it that way, right? That'd be like me trying to find a job in the newspaper these days, right? Like buying a physical newspaper, trying to find a job. That worked back in the day before everyone started going crazy in the World Wide Web. It doesn't work these days. Right? So why use tactics that are outdated? Again, you hear that a lot, like in university programs, like when they're trying to coach you on how to find jobs, like go on LinkedIn and go on Indeed and go on Monster and go on Dice and all these, and apply. If you're applying for jobs on these job boards, you're 100% behind the game. And you're also competing with like 10,000 other people that unfortunately are more qualified than you, at least on paper. So just something to keep in mind on that. And real quick on the job stuff, and I swear I'll stop going on tangents here so we can get this video done. But my suggestion for finding jobs that not a lot of people have applied to, for those of you who actually take action on this when you watch this video, this will help you. I think at some point eventually everyone will learn this secret and they'll actually be doing that, so you'll have more competition. But anyways, if you go to like larger cybersecurity conference websites, so for example Black Hat USA or RSA or any of the big ones out there, go to the company sponsor list that they have. Look at the sponsor list. Look at the like the lower tier level, and they'll have different names for the different sponsor level tiers, whatever. But look at the lower tier level companies. Go to their websites. You can often find jobs that the title is probably not going to be SOC analyst, right, or these traditional cybersecurity job titles. But you can find jobs that are open that match your skills or the skills that you have, or you match, maybe 50 or 60% of what they're asking for. But not a lot of people usually apply for those jobs, especially at the smaller startups. So you can usually get a job or at least get an interview, and they might be willing to train you into that role if you don't have, everything they're looking for. That's one of the fastest ways to actually get a job. Everyone that's actually done that has reported back to me, and this is just, I'm filming this in January of 2024. Or mid-January 2024, everyone that has responded back to me that they've actually done those steps, every single one of them has got an interview, at least one interview. Most of them have gotten around 4 or 5 interviews, and I think probably there's probably only like 35-ish people, 35 people that have responded back to me that they actually took action, which is pretty typical. Most people don't do anything. Out of those people, I'd say probably at least 20-ish have already gotten job offers, and like some of them already started the job, and that's just in the past. That's just since like October, I think, of 2023, right? So in a matter of months, these people that were spending a year or two trying to get into cybersecurity went to Black Hat or other conference websites, looked at the smaller company sponsors, looked at their websites, found jobs that they were potentially a good match for, or that they wanted to get into. They reached out to the companies, or they applied, or they found somebody that worked at the company on LinkedIn. They reached out and say, hey, I'm thinking of applying to this. Obviously, I don't meet all the criteria, but do you think they're willing to train me? I'm very passionate. I'm very driven. And again, vast majority of them have already gotten interviews, and many of them, what's that? Probably that's what, 60% or so, like 20-ish people out of 35, whatever. The math people out there can figure that out. But let's say 60% of people have already gotten job offers. Like, what the heck, right? And meanwhile, a lot of people are watching this video, you've been fighting for a year trying to get something, right? And you're frustrated, you're applying to 1,000 jobs on LinkedIn, Indeed, all these other job boards. Why don't you try the different path, right? Try a different way. Try the way that I just suggested that other people actually took action on, and they're like getting interviews, job offers. Like, it's common sense. Again, common sense. Anyways, off the soapbox again. About section. So headline, remember, single sentence, and then you can add everything else after that. But it needs to start with a single sentence. Again, start with something generic. I help companies reduce cybersecurity risk. And then here at the about section, what you want to do is I'm going to mark this up a little bit. So you're going to see red lines here, and I'm going to talk about all this in just a moment. So I'm just going to mark all this up. So what you want to do here is you don't want to draw red lines in your profile. But what you want to do is the very first line here is that exact same headline. I help companies reduce cybersecurity risk, or whatever you end up putting for your specific one. But very first line. Second line down, completely blank. Leave it a blank. I'm going to make a little X there. Completely blank. Third line down, you're going to put something else there. So it could be something like, I also can help companies with, or I also am skilled in, or I can also do these other things, right? Something like that. Basically, again, your entire goal is to get them to click see more. So by putting it like that and not putting a bunch of other text, you force them to click see more, and they got to read more about you if they want to. Fourth line down, I would leave a blank. Now, why am I telling you first and third line is where to put text at, and then everything else, they got to click see more to see it? Because on most devices, they're probably going to only see the first and third line of text that you put. Sometimes they can see that fourth line, but to be safe, just put first line and that third line and have your text there, right? So again, first line is the exact same headline, right? I help companies reduce cybersecurity risk. And then the third line down is something to get them to click see more. So I can also help your company with, or I'm also skilled in, and then everything else goes like, way down here, right? So as an example, if I take away my drawing tool and just click see more, all this other text that Miguel has here, that's where you put the text, way down here, right? Everything else. So you've only got one line here, one line of text here, and then everything else is way down here. Again, so they have to click see more to see more and read more about you, right? That keeps them on your page longer, or on your profile longer, and they're much more likely to quote unquote buy you for an interview at that point. So let's go down to the rest of the profile. So again, headline, about section, absolute critical. Literally, you should pause this video and update those areas immediately. Get them, again, just use a generic thing like I help companies reduce cybersecurity risk. And then for the about section, that third line, you could just put something like I'm also skilled in. I just throw a couple skills in there. Just something short, simple, sweet to get it done. Then you can always go back to it after you watch this video a couple of times and start tweaking your profile. But get something generic there at first, because you'll notice that you should get people starting to reach out to you eventually, or at least more visibility in your profile once you make those little minor changes like that, just to the headline and the about section. Just real quick on posting. Once you fixed everything else on your profile, like I'm suggesting, then you can worry about posting. So posting, the way to do this is to educate. Hands down. I mean, it's cool to share like I got this cert or whatever, right? But for example, Miguel, if you want to be a SOC analyst, then everything you post, or most of the stuff you post, should be educating about things that a SOC analyst would do, right? So explain CIA triad to people. Like it could be simple things. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can explain stuff in a post. You could like screen record. You don't have to be on camera, but you could screen record your screen of you setting up Splunk and configuring it and show them how to do that, right? Or showing them how to run a vulnerability scan with like Qualys or something, or Nessus. Like, and the mindset to have for all of you out there, when you're doing posting that's educational, think about someone that you would have to train on the job. So let's say you were hired into your dream job, and now I've hired somebody else, but I need you to train them up a little bit. So that's how your posting is. It needs to educate like you were, training someone on the job. The benefit there is that shows me as a hiring manager that I can bring you on the team and you can train somebody. It also shows me that you know your stuff because you're posting about it, right? It builds you as a thought leader in that whatever you want, whatever job you want to get, right? SOC analyst, sysadmin, whatever, right? Anyway, so that's the activity area, posting. Always try to educate. The more you educate, the more likely people look at you as a thought leader, and the more likely they are to actually reach out to you and stuff. And even conferences, right? If you want to speak at conferences, if you're posting all the time about a certain subject, they're going to reach out to you and say, hey, do you want to do a virtual conference, or do you want to come out to this conference? And sometimes the conferences will pay for you to come out depending on, who you are and the experience and things like that. So All that ties into personal branding is kind of the generic term we use on that stuff. Anyways, the posting stuff comes absolutely at the end of doing everything else that I'm saying in this video. So now experience section. So real quick thing on experience needs to, whatever you put for these job titles and whatever you put for your bullet points and skills and all that stuff, that needs to match exactly to your resume. If it doesn't, at least me personally as a hiring manager, I think you're being dishonest. Whether I recognize that thought cognitively, or if it's a subconscious thought. But either way, everyone's going to have that thought of, oh, these things don't match up. Something's amiss, right? Something's wrong here. Again, they may not be conscious that they're thinking that, oh my gosh, Miguel's dishonest because, this one bullet point doesn't match his resume or this job title doesn't match his resume, right? So again, big lesson there is just match everything up. So when you fix your LinkedIn in the experience section there, or if you want to start in your resume, fix it there and then just copy paste to LinkedIn. Either route you want to go is totally fine. Just make sure both of them match up. Now, what should you put here? So let's just say this right here. I'm going to pick this bullet point right here. So for those that can't see that, let me just zoom in real quick. So what you want to do, and give me one sec. It's a little slow. So this utilize ticketing systems, there we go. So this right here, right? Utilize ticketing system, blah, 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 right? Be specific. So any bullets you have on your resume, your LinkedIn, whatever, right? Again, they need to match up, but be as specific as you can and show your actual impact for the organization. And as much as you can get that measurable by like reduce tickets by, 5%, whatever, that goes so much further. And if all you can do is create one freaking bullet per job that is so damn awesome, that is so specific, that shows me exactly an impact you can have, even if it's one bullet, that can get you job offers, that can get you interviews, that goes such a long ways over me having to read all this stuff that makes no sense, right? It makes sense to me because I'm tech, but most people looking at your resume initially are recruiters and hiring managers. Make it easy on them. So instead of utilize ticketing systems to efficiently process, resolve, support actions, yawn, right? And again, no offense to Miguel. I'm picking on him here because it's his profile I'm looking at. But a lot of you have crappy bullets, right? A lot of you watching this, your bullets suck. The information in your resume sucks, right? I'm just trying to help you get it better. So for your LinkedIn and your resume, get specific. So for example, I utilize ticketing system. Okay, great. That's nice. Tells me nothing. Tells me literally nothing about you that you can do for my company. Yeah, you can use a ticketing system. A lot of people can use it. People can use a car. It doesn't mean they know how to drive, right? A lot of people suck at driving. All of you know this if you've driven or if you've ridden in something. You see idiots on the road. They've got a car. They can use it, but they don't use it right? They don't use it efficiently. They don't use it. They don't have a good impact or a positive impact because they suck at driving, right? Hopefully that makes sense. So for this bullet in particular, I would put something like, you didn't utilize ticketing systems. You basically, manage, you dealt with tickets, right? So, but what's the impact, right? So, did you process? So it seems like you efficiently process and resolve support actions. Okay, so I worked with the Remedy and ServiceNow ticketing system. I worked with, and you could just put one of those. I worked with the ServiceNow ticketing system to resolve client issues. And I don't know if and it says you streamline and organize workflow. So I'm going to take a guess here that you improved something. So I'm just going to throw a generic thing out. And again, Miguel, if this isn't true, then just adjust it based on your own, which you actually did. But anyways, this is off the cuff. So that's why it's maybe not too specific, but anyways, so I leveraged ServiceNow ticketing system to resolve client issues and organize the workflow to reduce support tickets by 3%. Right? Or it could even be like organized workflows to reduce tickets, each quarter, quarter over quarter, or a reduced, support tickets year over year. You don't even have to have a specific number like 3% or whatever. If you do, it's great, but don't make up something, right? Don't lie about a statistic, even if they can't verify. It's just not good energy to have. But you can still get more specific on this bullet, right? You could put, I leverage the ServiceNow, I leverage ServiceNow ticketing system to resolve client issues and organize workflows better to reduce support tickets year over year. That's see how that's still a generic kind of bullet point, but it's much more impactful. It shows me specifically that you could do something for my company, even if we don't use ServiceNow, even if you're not going to be working in ticketing system, which I don't know why you wouldn't for most cyber jobs, but let's say you didn't. That doesn't matter because I know I can plug you into some kind of IT stuff, which let's pretend I'm non-technical for a minute. I can plug you into something IT, and you can figure it out, and you can figure out a better way of doing it to help us potentially reduce cost to the organization, right? Make us more efficient. That's what that bullet tells me. But this bullet right here in its current format doesn't tell me anything, right? I'm trying not to curse too much in this video. But anyways, it really doesn't tell me shit, right? I say that, but here I go cursing. But it doesn't tell me anything. But the bullet I just came up with off the top of my head, now Miguel and everybody else, that tells me something, right? That shows me potential impact. And even if you can only get one bullet per job, and again, this is just me, Ken, the hiring manager. It's not everybody else. Some people are very corporate and petty and all that stuff, right? But for someone like myself, if all you can get is one really solid bullet point that shows me your impact that you had at the current company or a past company, that's usually enough for me to be like, okay, let me reach out to Miguel. Let's just bring him in for an interview and talk to him more. Because in the interview, I can find out more about what you did there, right? But the way this one is now, right, especially all these other ones, right, streamline admin processes, right? So for Miguel and for anyone else where your bullets are kind of more generic, right, you served as a SME. I mean, again, tell me about that. Like if you did projects, right? So it seems like this was a project where you were the expert they were going to for implementing these all-in-one workstations. Okay, like instead of telling me that you were the SME, like say I worked on a project where we implemented this rollout of new workstations. And here's who was involved in the project. Here was my role. I was kind of I was the lead or whatever. I was a project lead or I was the SME on it. And, here's what happened. Here's some of the challenges. Like here's one challenge we dealt with on the project. And here's how I helped solve that. Here was my contribution to it, or here was my idea for solving that, whatever. And here was the ultimate outcome. That right there goes back to the behavioral interview questions in an interview, right? That's why they ask those questions for you guys and gals, and however you gender identify out there. But that's what those behavioral interview questions are all about. Give me a specific example where you did something. Tell me who else was involved in that project. Tell me about, challenges. Tell me about what you did. Tell me about the ultimate outcome, good or bad, right? Maybe it was a lesson learned. Maybe that workstation project totally failed because Miguel didn't do something. But tell me about that. What did Miguel learn from that? Right? So that's what you need to do for your LinkedIn, the experience section, as well as your resume. Again, just copy and paste, but get specific like that. Again, even if it's just this one bullet point and it's very specific. And again, like the example I gave was generic though, right? But it's more tailored down to the next level of specificity that will allow me to really identify, okay, this person is what we call a high performer. I only hire high performers because high performers help make my job as your boss much easier. Lazy people get fired. I actually feel bad on the inside if I have to lay off a high performer. In fact, at one organization, I was told you need to cut your budget by 30%. And I was told I need to lay off people. But guess what? Everybody on the team was a high performer. So I was like, damn, what can I do? So I figured out some projects that we didn't need to do right away. And I cut that out and I was like, oh, good, there's the budget I had to cut. And I got a lot of backlash as an executive that I didn't just cut staff, right? But I had high performers. I don't want high performers to go to somebody else's company. I want them here, right? They're high performers, right? So we hire high performers, or at least we try to. So you want to show that you're a high performer. High performers would have a bullet, like I said, of, I utilize a ServiceNow ticketing system to resolve customer client issues, and I also organize workflows to improve, our efficiency that reduce support tickets or whatever, right? I mean, that's a big run-on sentence I just did there, which would piss off a lot of the English majors out there, but it is what it is. That's what you do, right? That shows me you're a high performer. At least it shows me on, at least in theory, right? At least in your resume or your LinkedIn profile that you're potentially a high performer. And that in a potential high performer is someone that I bring in for a job interview. So that's your experience section. I'm not going to go through all your experience section, Miguel, because I know I'm going way past what I wanted to for this video. Anyways, education, a similar thing here for the education section for any of you, especially those of you that are coming directly from college, trying to get your first, job in the real world. Instead of listing out every like class you took or in even listing out skills like Miguel has here, my suggestion is pick like a single project you worked on. That could have been just a lab you did, but also if there was like any project or papers you did, projects is better. But again, going back to behavioral interview questions, tell me about that project, right? Who worked on it? Did you work on a team? Did you work on it yourself? Was it like a capstone thing? Okay, what was the project about? And then, what were some of the challenges? I mean, like, did you have challenge with time management, right? Did the kids get sick? And you had a sick kid to deal with, and maybe your spouse ran out the door, so now you got to support that whole household with sick kids while trying to do your degree. All these things, like that shows me that you can work under pressure, right? You can solve problems under pressure, even though the fact it's sick kids, right? I'm not going to have you dealing with sick kids in the office, but you may be dealing with sick kids while you're in the office, right? So I need to know those things, right? So tell me about the project. Like what happened? What were some of the challenges? Who was involved? What was your contribution to it? And what was the ultimate outcome? Did you get an F on the project? You had to redo it. Okay. What'd you learn from that? Did you get an A on it? Oh, congrats, right? You got it, A plus. And by the way, I'm going off the grading system here in the US. It could be different in other places, but like, tell me about that, right? Just tell me about the project. And even if you, again, just like the experience bullets, if you can only find one project in your degree to tell me about, cool. Awesome. That's great. I love it. So next thing down is license and certs. Miguel's only got one, so that's in here. If you got more than two, then what you'll see, kind of like the skills here, you'll see it'll show you the top two. So for your certifications, if you got more than like two certs, then just make sure the top two are ones relevant to whatever job you want to go or whatever job you want to get. Same thing with skills. Like maintenance management, preventive maintenance. That's not anything you want to list for cyber, Miguel. So whatever other skills you have here, I guess I'll click on that and see. Normally I wouldn't, but security management, IT management, those are two skills I can move up in the process there. Risk management, I don't see that here yet, but stuff like that, right? Like anything, information security, like those types of skills. Just pick like two that are relevant to the job you want to go for and move those up. Now, what I also don't see here for you, Miguel, and for others that might be missing it, you can add the recommendation section. The way to do recommendations, which is basically like an Amazon review that people give you, right? The way to do that is type up a recommendation that you want someone to write for you. Like type up what you want them to say, and then reach out to them and say, hey, we work together at, for Miguel in particular, we work together in the Army. We currently work together. Or we worked together in the past. Do you mind writing me a LinkedIn recommendation based on our experience together? Here's an example of what other people are doing. And so you basically give them the recommendation that you wanted them to write. They're going to take that. They're going to adjust it a little bit in their own words and make it specific to however they worked with you. But they're much more likely to do it that way than if you just ask them to do it, right? You basically give them the answer for the test, then they're much more likely to like actually take the test, right? If you give them the paper that's written and you say, here you go, you just need to put it in your own words, they're much more likely to turn in that paper than they are if you just say, go write a paper, right? If that makes sense. So that's what you want to do for the experience section, or excuse me, the recommendation section, and that's how you get those reviews. Just type it up for people first, and then say, hey, here's what other people are doing, or here's an example of how other people are doing it. And then basically you take the pressure off them of having to come up off the top of their head of stuff, and then they just have to take what you had written and adjust it to their own words and things like that. So anyways, that's the review of Miguel's profile. Again, number one, number two areas are going to be the headline, which all of you, where's my little thing? There we go. Which all of you at this point should have already updated your headline in your about section. If you didn't, now you're at the end of the video. Please do it right after this. Obviously, if your kid's just got in a fight and one's like got arterial bleeding and you got to go to the hospital, then it can wait. But for most of you, that's not going to be the case. You're going to go play on Netflix or TikTok or something, or go scroll through social media. So take a pause from that and just focus on updating your headline and updating the about section real quick, because that will start to bring some leads your way, right? All this is sales. This is sales and marketing. That's all a job search is, sales and marketing, right? That's literally it. The entire job process, the entire corporate process, life in general is sales and marketing. So if you can sell yourself on LinkedIn pretty well, then you'll get an interview. If you can sell yourself on a resume pretty well, you get an interview. And in the interview, you sell yourself well to them. And then you get a job offer. And then on the job, you sell yourself continuously to your boss and their boss. You make their lives easier, both your boss and their boss's life easier. Then you move up in the company, right? Or get more money, whatever the case might be. But it's just marketing and sales. That's all this stuff is. But again, this was a long video, so I know that. Again, I'll post below an invisible email address you can send all the hate mail to you want. I never check that email box. It's invisible. I can't see it either. So anyways, hopefully this was helpful to all of you. Remember, key takeaway here, three main key takeaways. I want all of you to, four key takeaways. 2 of them are related. Well, 3 of them are related. Anyways, let me just say them. Number 1, clarity. You got to know exactly one specific cybersecurity job you want to go for. I want to work in cybersecurity is not a job. I want to work as a SOC analyst, pen tester, whatever. That's not a job. Pick one job and commit at least, I mean, you don't have to do it for the next 2 years, but commit for at least the next 6 months. You're going to do nothing but become a SOC analyst or a pen tester or a system admin, right? Or a network engineer. There's nothing wrong with working in general IT. A lot of you are doing cybersecurity jobs right now. You just don't realize it. Like Miguel's already in cybersecurity. He's already working a cybersecurity job. I just don't know that you've realized that, Miguel. Like, you don't have to try to be a SOC analyst. Like, you already work in cybersecurity. Anyways, that's number 1 is clarity. Numbers 2 and 3 are your headline, about section, are the most important parts of your profile. And then number 4 is make sure you're on your experience, that both your LinkedIn and resume match up, and also that you get specific on those bullets, even if you can only get one really, really good bullet point per job for now. That's totally cool because number 1, it makes your resume a heck of a lot easier to read. But number 2, it also shows that you took the time to really dig into that and pull out that specific example for me. That also goes a long ways for hiring managers to be much more likely to reach out to someone that maybe doesn't have all the certs and experience and all that other stuff they're looking for. So some tips for your job stuff there, and hopefully that helps some of you out there get interviews, get more interviews, and also get job offers.